Hey, this guy was in the lab before. I thought I'd let him back in again. Coming up, Stein, the AI master. He might have something to say.
Hi, I'm keithbilous, and this is Live in the Lab. All right. A little bit of weirdness in front of the camera there for anybody who's watching. Because I'm like, hey, where's the button? Where's the button? I can't get it going. How did you go viral on TikTok? You were on America's Got Talent. How much do you get paid to be on AGT? Oh, you didn't get paid. Keith and Steve here in Live in the Lab.
You're a great interviewer. I love it.
48 miles, 48 hours. And not just once. You ain't seen nothing yet. I hit 50 last night, and I'm like, yeah, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. So trust me, things are to keep. You have no time for the BS that much of society seems to put on the table. Why is that? Like, what you're talking about is real right now. There's just no bullshit here, but it's just real. We brought you in with some Marley. I said, Joseph, let's talk music for a second. You said, well, Keith, oldies, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've never talked to a sir before. Why are you a sir? In many ways, we're the same story. I came from nothing. You came from nothing. I think the old saying goes that if you want a trophy, you climb Everest. If you want respect, you climb K2. I've built an AI myself, and it's pretty fascinating when you can have a conversation with yourself with your own knowledge. Have you done that before? Why are we rushing to make these tools if all they're going to do is hurt humanity? Does the world need an Oppenheimer moment with AI?
What a fun show.
Hey, I had the wrong tune going on. I was distracted by the AI guy sitting over there. Stein coming up in a few moments. Oh, I like this tune. Inner Stress Auto Hacker, bringing us in on a Wednesday. Yeah, it's a rest and recovery day with tunes like this. Boom! What's going on, nation? Yeah, we do things differently here in the lab, as you know. Kurt knows. He's been here before. I thought I'd amp the music up and bring a little bit of an attitude today because, well, I got to tell you guys, I did an interview yesterday on a podcast. Oh man, the bar is low. Holy fuck, is the bar low? Oh yeah, it's low. It was fun. I'll leave it there. I'll tell you when it's out, and I invite you to listen to it. It's nothing like the lab. Now we do things differently. We jack the tunes up. We talk about interesting conversations. We talk business. We talk athletics. We talk AI. We talk performance, longevity, lifestyle. All those great things, those pillars that fall into the business athlete performance lab. You know, people always talk about niching down. You got to niche. You got to pick a topic, Keith. You got to pick one topic. But I like more than one thing. I think humans like just more than one thing. I think humans are diverse, frankly. So I don't know. Maybe we'll niche around accountability. Oh, maybe we'll niche around goal getting. Oh, speaking of, it's what is it? March 6th. Yeah, we're coming up into the first week, the end of the first week of the third quarter. I'm sorry, the end of the first week of the first quarter. And y'all wrote your goals down in December and January. Where are you at? How's those resolutions coming along? It's March. Quarter one is almost done. Are you hitting your numbers? If you're not, why don't you come knock on our door? We'll help you. Accountability partners. We'll come make sure you show up. We show up every single day. You know where you can find us. We're just sitting here in the lab, creating content, creating conversation, inspiring human beings, holding people accountable, moving people forward. That's what we're doing here. Every single day dropping content. And speaking of dropping content, yeah, so yesterday we had a little announcement. Mr. Stein. We're doing more content. Nicole Bernard and I. Yeah, so Nicole's one of our first guests, guest number 2. That's what happens when you kind of walk through the lab. You start drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, oh, I want to come back for more. Monday, 7 a.m. Central Time. That's 6 Eastern Time. We're going to do a little morning show. And we're going to dig back into the past. Bring a couple personalities, put them in front of the media, and just talk about stuff. So Nicole and I, we're going to start creating some content here on LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, every social platform we can find. We're going to go talk on it. We're going to bring conversations out there. We're going to help you guys with some up-to-date news. We're going to try some new stuff. Is it going to work? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work. But what I do know is I'm alive every single day at 6 a.m. anyways. 7 a.m. anyway. So why don't we just go create content? Why don't we help you guys become accountable? We are thinking that if we show up every single day, maybe it will inspire you to show up every single day. Maybe that's what you need to hit your goals. That accountability partner, that familiar voice. Oh, Uncle Keith, the old cheap bapl to get you to that next step in life. Maybe myself or Nicole will help you get there. Maybe you're kind of 30 days into something, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get there. You tune into the old LinkedIn X YouTube broadcast stream of us talking. You're like, okay, yeah, they're there. Giving you some insights, some valuable information, some actionable items. That's the ambition. And if you want to join the show, If you want to contribute, you want to be a creator, we got a track record. We're building some cool stuff here. People are talking about what we're doing. We're moving from the clubs to the concert halls, to the arenas, and over to the stadiums. You just got to pay attention to the past. 500 shows in on YouTube, 100 and some odd guests in to this Live in the Lab experience. We're launching Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Nicole starting next week. Goal Getters, another show we're launching here, tracking somebody's 100-day goal program. Lots happening here in the lab. What's happening right now today? My friend Kurt Stein, sitting over there in the green room, patiently waiting. He knows what to expect. It's not off, so we have not had many second-time guests come through. I can name on one hand. We've had Nicole Bernard, we've had Anthony Franco, and now, third time's a charm, Kurt Stein. So why don't we join Kurt, bring him in? And I'm excited about this because I get to nerd out for a while here talking AI stuff. And last time we had Kurt in, AI was still new. It's still relatively a nascent technology. But back when Kurt and I spoke about it, whatever it would have been 3-4 months ago, it was a relatively newer piece to the world. And I'm curious, I'm intrigued in talking to Kurt where it's come from back then. So why don't we turn the tunes down? Bring Kurt up on stage.
What's up, Keith? How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
I'm happy to have you here. I feel like, so to the audience and everything, and to anybody who just is tuning in, this is just comfortable for me. Thank you for joining me again. It's kind of neat to have somebody who's been here before and knows kind of how the shtick goes. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the chat today, man.
Loving the energy, loving it. Fantastic.
Awesome. You're well? You keeping well?
Yep, keeping well, keeping well. Hey, you want to come back to this energy? Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome. That is, energy. And I forgot to put the old, I gotta put a backdrop on there for us. We gotta bring some energy behind us. There we go. So Kurt, last time we sat down in the lab would have been, I think it was in November, so October, November. We first started digging into the Chat GPT AI conversation. It was only a year ago when it was rolled out. And when I knocked on your door again and said, hey, Kurt, why don't you come back and talk again? I really wanted to catch up with you since that point in time. My perception of businesses and your reality of the conversation you're having with businesses, I would like to see if they're married together. But before we get there, let's make sure the audience knows what you do. So Kurt, you run an AI firm. You work with small to medium businesses, and correct me if I'm not explaining this correctly, but you help them bring those technologies in-house to become efficient, effective, and really a modern day or a future-proof business.
That's correct. Yeah, we like to say, leave no business behind.
Yeah,
especially in the AI era.
Yeah, and so how has it been going since we first started talking? Are businesses still? Are they rolling their eyes? Are they interested? Are they more interested today than they were 3-4 months ago? Like, let's talk about the marketplace these days.
It's a great question. It's a great question. Everybody knows they have to work on it.
Yeah.
And then if you look at from prior to when we spoke, I think we started talking about Microsoft Copilot. I mean, that was released.
Yeah, you said it was going to be a game changer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is, but companies are still deploying it, right? And they're learning it. And it's not so simple. I did a post today where if you think you're just going to go buy a bunch of licenses and start things up and you're ready to go, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're going to spend money. It's going to sit on the shelf and nobody's going to use it because so much more goes into it. You don't just buy a race car and say, all right, now I'm ready to go. Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So our businesses are still working on it. Businesses are still learning how to adopt it. Businesses are still learning how to bring their workforce along for the ride. I mean, that's probably the simplest way to say it.
We've been around for a while. You've been around with computers for a long time. Is it similar to
yes.
It is, isn't it? When Microsoft Word and Excel and companies are like, well, Kurt, I don't know if I want to roll this out. And you're like, no, you actually need to roll this out. Is it really that simple?
It's funny when you look back in history, they say like history tends to repeat itself. You look back in history, look, I grew up during in business, from a business perspective, right?
Yes.
So even in school, right, I went from typewriters to the word processor, which I didn't. I'm dealing with this thing, dropping it down, typing, green letters across a black screen. And then here comes laptops that students are using for school. Oh, you gotta get yourself a laptop. It makes things so much easier. And then the internet, and people are like, hey, what do you do with the internet? And you have AOL dial-up, that dial-up tone that's stuck in your head. And then it starts getting better and better. And then I moved into AT&T in 1998. And that's when I got my first cell phone. Actually, maybe I got a cell phone before that, probably a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
But in 98, here I am now in the middle of technology of AT&T and networks. And now we're out there trying to sell the companies the internet. And companies then were saying to us when we were trying to sell them websites and things like that at the time, like, what do I need a website for? I don't, I hear a whole bunch about this, but I don't want to spend the money on that. Or getting cell phones. Yeah, it just, cell phones burst onto the scenes like AI did. And now every company's trying to find a way to start getting them and giving them to their employees, putting those little computers into their hands, the BlackBerries, et cetera. And you're watching the same thing happen all over again. It was still, from an IT perspective, there's hesitancy. There's, I think it's built into IT staffs to be cautious about things because they understand what can happen, right? And somebody's got to pull back on the reins while the business is screaming, let's move forward, right? And you have to have that push and pull, as you would say, of, yeah, we got to get the latest and greatest, but hey, we got to be careful that we don't go too fast because then you get out, the proverbial get out in front of your skis and then fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's changed in time. You look at it, they're still grappling with the same things. Business is saying, we need to do this. We need to be competitive. We need to get out there. Everybody else is doing this. IT's saying, hey, we got a lot of projects on our plate. There's things that we still have to do. There's a lot of investments you have to make in order to get us ready for certain things. Oh, by the way, you have all this whole entire list of things you want us to work on. We have to find a way to build this in it as well. And oh, by the way, we have to train everybody how to use it. So from a small middle market's perspective, that's what they're grappling with. Grappling is probably the best way to say it. Mm-hmm. From an enterprise perspective, there's a lot of companies that are racing ahead and deploying Microsoft Copilot and things of that nature and starting to deploy it to their forces. And 2024 is the year of adoption, is the way I see it. I mean, people were adopting in 2023 at the beginning of the year, but we see this as a year of massive adoption because of all the changes and all the innovations. I mean, things are moving at lightning speed right now.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good summary of where things are.
Who's winning the race right now, Kurt? Is it Google? Is it Microsoft? Is it ChatGPT? Is there anybody? Is it Claude? You heard the news like I did last week. Anthropic, released a new Claude model, which apparently is better than Gemini, apparently better than ChatGPT-4. And then the last question I would throw to you, perhaps, Kurt, is, do you think Anthropic is it Anthropic or Anthropic? Let's go Anthropic. Do you think that is a bet for Google against what they are unable to achieve, knowing that they're a major significant investor in Anthropic as well as Amazon, both as an investor? Because we know Google's struggling. We know Gemini's been a fiasco. Their whole AI, oh my God, it's threatening our search business. It's just messed up their whole thing. But who's winning the race right now, Kurt?
Again, it's a personal opinion, and whatever my opinion is and anybody else's opinion today, that's the great thing about opinions, right? It's going to change in time. And in 6 months from now, we'll all be looking at ourselves going, oh, I don't know. I mean, am I going to be put up as predicting the future? Let's see. Who's winning right now from a company perspective? OpenAI. I mean, they're doing well. I think who else is winning? Us.
Yes.
We're the ones winning. Right now with these companies making these investments and these creation. And I think people are also scared that they're going to lose their jobs, and they're seeing a lot of things from the media. I think they've written like 4,000 jobs been lost since AI has come on. I don't know how they calculate that. There's going to be a lot of changes anyway, but I think if people adapt with it, there'll be a lot of benefits. Just like when the internet started, right? Yes. It massively changed everything, and people moved away from certain things, and people started opening businesses elsewhere. So you watch, everything shifts and moves around. So I think there's plenty of opportunities, but Microsoft, I believe, is winning right now, especially with OpenAI. They have an investment, I think, with Mistral as well, and then Anthropic. So you know what? You're constantly watching this, and it's head to head, and everybody's moving, and everybody's gaining, and this one's best, and then that one's not. And Gemini was supposed to be absolutely amazing with 700,000 words that you can pump in, and then all of a sudden you had the whole bias fiasco. And I think that's more. I think what's happening to Google and Gemini is more of a reflection of what companies are afraid of as well. Companies are very afraid of them being in that same boat. Because Google, Google's with DeepMind and everything was a massive influence to what happened to AI. Yes. With just their attention algorithm is what got us to where we are with ChatGPT. I mean, that was a very important, a component of making it understand what's being asked and to remember what was asked and then to push forward. So I put on I've responded to one person's post saying, they were asking me, do you think Google is down for the count? I'm like, absolutely not. It's a $1.7 trillion company. Yes, they got a black eye. Yes, they'll come out of this. And I think everybody's also learning from that this can happen to the best.
What's interesting though, Kurt, I read a piece last week. I should post it on LinkedIn to share with you and get your opinion on it. But somebody postulated that, has Google released Gemini the way that it has to cause havoc in public minds, to cause doubt with AI, to protect its search business? So the conspiracy being, they're purposely fucking the marketplace. They're purposely causing doubt in humans, going, oh, the machines are fucked, man. No, we don't like the machines. If Google can't get the machines right, who can get the machines right? So we're causing some doubt while we sort out how we're going to monetize this whole thing, because if this thing takes off like we know it's going to take off, it is going to make the bottom fall out of our entire search business. Interesting perspective when you think about it that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. If Google was in total control, right? If they were the dominant factor, then yeah, you could certainly say that. I mean, that would be, if you look back in time, you would say, like I told you, I worked at AT&T. They were a consortium. They were a monopoly, and then they controlled everything. And it used to cost you, $2 a minute to make a call, long distance. It was insane how much money it cost.
Yes.
And then they broke it up and everything changed. So, but Google's not the only one in the lead. You have Microsoft. You have so many different companies that I'd find that hard to believe. I think, because I wrote an article a while back, or at least a post, that Google is threatening their search business. AI is going to threaten their search business. I thought I put a post out too. In December, they were talking about laying off thousands, like 30,000 people in the search business because AI was going to take that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see it come to fruition, but I mean, they have laid off, tens of thousands. But I would find that, I'd find that tough, because Google can't stop this train. I mean, does it stop other companies that makes them pause a little bit and say, whoa, I don't want to be in the same position that Google's in, that bias and getting something wrong, and then destroys my name because I don't have the reputation or the clout in the market. But I mean, Google lost a lot of money in value when that happened. In data. So I mean, I would think, I don't think they would have done something like that, but who knows? I'm sure Microsoft would be more than happy if they were trying to tank the market on that. So,
and then you have Elon tossing the gauntlet at Sam and the gang at OpenAI, saying, I'm suing you for, I would suggest, Kurt, the only reason to slow things down, because we know that the greatest weapon, in any technology war is is litigation, right? I got to slow Kurt down, and he's going too fast, so I'm going to sue him. Right? So, it makes you wonder, like, that the whole reason Elon's doing that is to slow what's happening with OpenAI.
I mean, it's so great, right, to talk about this. Yeah. Like I was listening to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and even then Sam Altman, right? And it's interesting to get their feedbacks. What's interesting is what he's doing with Grok, where he's trying to bring morality into AI. Which, look, if he's being forthcoming in terms of what he's looking to do, I understand what he's trying to achieve. Where, I mean, look what happened with Google, right? That was human beings that put information in there that created to be biased. So whoever's programming it is going to program with their biases in there. And that's, I guess, some of the tough things for other businesses to learn from. I don't know what he's doing with that. And not saying he's right, not saying he's wrong. I don't, maybe he's just doing it. Maybe he is, creating that from that perspective. Maybe he's doing it from a marketing thing to boost Grok. I don't know. But you know what? We're going to find out soon. We're going to see what happens in a couple of months, right?
What's your POV on Grok? I've used Grok. Grok, is it Gronk? I'm joking, but it's an interesting AI, isn't it?
Yeah, and I haven't used it yet. I haven't used it, but everything I read about it is it's supposed to be good. It's supposed to provide you fairness, and then you look across the board with everything else. Like Perplexity is supposed to be the
it's good.
Kill switch to Google search.
Yes.
Like, I posted probably 8 months ago how, I don't know if I posted, I responded to a comment where I was like, look, Google search business is in trouble. AI is going to impact their business. And somebody responded, doubt it. It's not going to happen. There's no way, et cetera, et cetera. But think about it. why, why go on and get a blue link from Google and have to search pages when you could just go to an AI that's going to scroll and get the information, provide you what you're looking for.
Yes.
We're coming from an age of instant gratification. Even though we're older, we still expect information fast. You have Generation Z quickly moving up. Generation Alpha will be behind. Generation X, right? You have these people expecting things immediate. Why are they going to jerk around with Google search if they could just do it elsewhere? And then you have your Reddit. I guess they're using something from Google's getting Reddit's information or something. Everything's moving so quickly that that's why I say we're the ones that benefit right now. Right now, the users are the ones that benefit. In time, I don't know. The good question is, what happens in time? Does the hammer switch to then the companies are in control and we're at the you're at the mercy of them?
Yeah. Well, and Kurt, again, you look at history to predict the future, and I would put on the table that Sundar is, over at Google, leading the Steve Ballmer version of Microsoft, right? Where it was kind of the down era, the shitty era of Microsoft, and it took Satya to make them cool again. We might be going through the uncool phase of Google for the next number of years before they become relevant again.
You know what? Here's an interesting thing. They have two choices. They were just knocked down, right? And anybody looking at the business at the biases that were there and the echo chamber that's taken place from an AI perspective and their history, they have to get their act together pretty quick. And I think they will. I mean, they're a massive company. They have some massive talent there. But a stumble like that can set you back, especially when your competitors are moving at lightning speed. So I think he's certainly looking at that search business and trying to figure out real fast how he's going to protect that and those revenues, because those revenues are not small. They're in the billions. I think last time I looked, it was like 16 billion in search revenue. That is massive.
Well, so I'll toss this at you. I read a pundit last week suggest that it's actually happened right in front of you and I right now, but we haven't realized it. So if you subscribe to Gemini Ultra, it's $20 a month. So it's one of those. Okay, so right in front of our eyes, they're moving their model from ad supported. Or let's just say pulling the lever on reducing that ad-supported dollars and saying, okay, you guys want to use Gemini Ultra? It's $20 a month, right? You take 100 million people, start using Gemini Ultra. There's your revenue shortfall, right? And maybe that's the simple lever they're considering pulling.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have massive search information, and whatever they did what they're doing with Reddit. I mean, I would think they were at such a massive leading position because of all the information they have that they fed Gemini. They were in a lead. I thought they would be far better than ChatGPT with what they have.
Yes. I think we all did, Kurt. And I think, listen, at the end of the day, humans are humans, right? So let's just kind of pause for a moment here and just, we all put our pants on the same way. Like Sam is sitting in San Francisco one day saying, fuck those guys at Google, man. We can go get them. Because he knows they're moving so slow, right? 25,000 people working there. It's a slow moving train. So if you got a small versatile, you got a small Anthropic, OpenAI, you go, right? You just go. It's human nature to go and try to knock the big dog down, right?
Yeah. So like you said earlier on, what a business is doing. And I've said it a few times, and I got this from, with that founder over at Netflix put it up often. It's if you're unwilling to disrupt your business, your competition will be willing to disrupt it for you. And that's the whole Netflix blockbuster story. And you just said it perfectly. I mean, it is happening every single day. It's happened throughout history, and it's happening today. Mm-hmm. You just said it. OpenAI sat there and said, we're going to go fast. Perplexity, they came from Google.
Yeah. Yes.
They came from Google.
Yeah.
So, they're rapidly moving, saying we are going to disrupt things, and Google has to disrupt it. Search business or not, they have to do it. Microsoft has to continue to keep disrupting the business. Every business out there, especially, that's why I say leave no business behind on the small middle markets business. They are racing against everybody else that is going to disrupt their own business, and they need to catch up fast. So yes, if they're not disrupting it, if Sundar's not racing now to take this as a lesson and move faster, then Google's going to have themselves a tough time, and they will be far behind what Microsoft is doing and Amazon and anybody else.
I'll throw an idea out there, Kurt, a wild idea that who another tech behemoth that may be threatened with all of this is Apple. We know that they are notoriously, won't use the word late. They come in methodical, intentional to the party after technologies have matured and so forth. But I wonder if the Apple playbook works in a world of AI where AI moves at lightning speed. And the time that Apple comes in September to release their stuff, AI, all of this AI technology has moved so much further ahead. And I'm not trying to dismiss all those smart brains over in Silicon Valley working at Apple, but it just makes me wonder sometimes if they're another company in the crosshairs like Google of some of these younger, more nimble companies.
So, I mean, the interesting part about it is they have a massive war chest, right?
Yes.
So no different than Zuckerberg did in Meta. I mean, these companies are also, and Microsoft, they're looking at them going, oh yeah, you're becoming a threat, I'm going to buy you.
Yeah.
So now look, do they want to be sold is always the question. And then you can go back to the whole Clubhouse situation. Clubhouse was massive. Clubhouse, they were being offered to be bought and they were like, no, we're not going to sell. And then LinkedIn does the same thing and Meta's like whatever they did and they suffered for it. So that's always a tough thing for those up and coming companies that, do they sell to one of these companies or not? So Apple has that community, like you talk about on Business Athlete, program. They have that community. They have all these Apple devices. They have the Apple Vision Pro. I mean, they're trying to come around and wrap around an entire experience. All they have to do is just throw their large language model onto every single Apple device that's located everywhere. And if they do it for free, that we'll all be screaming, what a game changer. Oh my God, look at a game changer. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to charge for it. I don't know what. Are they going to be like Costco where they make all the money on their memberships and they don't make a lot of money on selling the product? Are they going to be like Amazon? They charge at $150, Prime, and that's where they make all their money. And that's why they're building planes and trucks and create such a fleet because they make so much money on it. Is Apple going to do the same thing? Hey, here's our large language model. It's free. It's all included in Apple, and they're going to suck. Like a big vacuum cleaner, they're going to suck the business away from everybody else. I don't know. Maybe that might happen.
What's interesting to me, Kurt, is that we often talk, about AI in a vacuum as a singular technology. Yet, you take AI with Wi-Fi 6 and next gen networks and Internet of Things and in some of the technologies. Augmented reality coming around the corner, and they speak about those trivergent technologies. You put AI together with AI, AR, and some high-speed networks, magic starts to happen.
That's right.
Right? Because right now we're just talking about AI in a sense of a large language model, text-based creation stuff. We're just kind of scratching the iceberg, scratching the iceberg of what's really going to be happening and possible, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. OpenAI Sora has just shocked Hollywood.
Yes.
Absolutely shocked them. Tyler Perry, I put a post up, put him back and said, I'm not building an $800 million studio. This is insane. Why would I ever do that? There's a lot of people that are, off balance is probably the best way to say it. Yes. And I think it's just going to continue. So you're right. 5G comes, it's deployed everywhere, pushing 100 megs and up in terms of data to a mobile device. Then you add in when the form factor changes on the Apple Vision Pro, because frankly, a lot of people sent it back because it was giving them headaches and it's heavy on the face. And look, over time, form factor changes. Does it get back to like the Google glasses where it's really small? Who knows? And then you have that whole environment in the metaverse and people really feel like they're talking to somebody. And it's really feeling personal, like Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg did.
Yeah.
You put that all together. I think Apple's the one that's in the lead. I think Apple's the one that's going to shock us all.
Yeah. Yep, I agree with you there, 100%. I do agree, and it's waiting for those trivergent technologies to come together. And like the Vision Pro is great, but it's exceptional when 5G is everywhere and it's ubiquitous, right? And to your point, and when the form factor is smaller, right? And then you hear about Sam talking perhaps with Jony Ive developing an AI type device like that would seem inevitable to me as well. Potentially threatening, the hardware. So we're talking about AI soft, the soft side of AI affecting Google. A device like that we talked about the Humane Pin, it's flopped. That AI Jony Ive device could disrupt this market right here.
It could. I mean, you can't bet against Apple. Anybody that's tried to do that, unless has suffered. I mean, they have Apple users are loyal. Look, I'm not saying that there's something wrong with with anything else besides iOS. Android's fine. I'm just not an Android user. All my devices, the Apple, everything is Apple, so it all connects to each other. I love that. That's easy. Just like I'm also a Google Workspace user.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I did that earlier on. It was great. I don't know if it was the right thing. Maybe I should have been a Microsoft 365 user when I did that 9 years ago. But you're on it, right? And you tend to move away. But Apple, I think is going to shock us all. They quietly do things, but they are absolutely enormous. And I think they're going to shock us, and I think they're going to keep innovating, and it might be pretty amazing. And I don't see, Joni Ive and Microsoft, and what does Microsoft do on that side? They don't have the network like Apple does from a device perspective. They're going to start creating that. They're going to get into that side, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting.
It is fascinating to me. And I always say that and that's why I was excited to have this chat with you, because I can nerd out and talk about the future, is that we're so early in this too, right? And, I'm a telecom guy. You're an old telecom guy. We've been selling phones and TCP IP and local area networks and wide area networks. Now we're talking about some pretty crazy, sexy stuff that we only could dream about, back in the olden days. But let's go back, Kurt, to small, medium businesses you're dealing with today. I'm speculating they're buying these tools, but then they're not using them. Is that truly a challenge today? Which is, okay, yeah, we're going to weave Copilot in, or we're going to use we're going to weave Gemini in, but then they sit there and stare at the white prompt box and go, okay, now what?
Yeah, and I don't know how long it's going to be before we start hearing about the investments that people have made,
yes,
and then haven't done it. Because I just did a post today. So throughout time, how many businesses have gone and spent money on something, and then it sat on the shelf because it was a great idea, they wanted to do it, and then they found, oh my God, I got to do all these other things. So from a small, medium-sized business, who do they have running things? IT. IT is already overwhelmed with the things they have to do on a daily basis. They have to do user support. They have to make sure the networks are up and running. They have to make sure security is in place. They have to check in the firewalls. And they are constantly trying to stay up to date on just what's happening on that side. And then small, medium-sized business is going to turn to them and say, hey guys, great, got an idea. We want to go to AI. Now, not saying they can't. They have the intellectual capacity to learn stuff, but now they have to start upskilling on what this means. They have to start looking at the environment. Is the environment ready? The architecture ready to take this on? Do we just stay with Copilot? Do we roll out a large language model? Which one? Which one? Wait, I just read today Claude 2 is going to be far superior to ChatGPT. And then what's going to happen next? And then the price is going to drop on them. And then the business is looking at it going, oh my God, my inference costs are, if I go with this one, it just drops by 20, 30%. That's enormous. So their heads are spinning.
I believe it.
If they think they're just going to go slap on $20 to ChatGPT Teams, they have to take full advantage of that, roll out Copilot. The biggest challenge to any single business is the change in the way people work throughout time and throughout time in the future. I don't care who it is. We are habitual creatures of processes and the way things are done. Nobody wants to change how they do things, even if they know it's good for them. They've learned this process. They know it well. Wait a minute, you're going to make me change now? Yes, some of the younger generations might embrace change much faster, or might say, hey, why don't you have this? But then the older generation's going, wait, everything was working perfectly the way we did it. Now I have to go spend hours and hours and hours of my time when? During the workday? Or you tell me now I have to do it after the workday? And then they're feeling threatened as well. Well, how is this going to replace my job? And rightfully so, they're thinking that, because it's going to change what they do. So small and medium-sized businesses, which, by the way, a small business could be up to $1 million, right? But a mid-sized business, small business could be bigger than that. The SBA says a small business is up to like 300, 500 employees. So, these are still big companies. What they're grappling with is, what do you do? Now you're going to go hire somebody from an AI perspective, go spend $150,000 to $250,000 to hire them. Now you have the CFOs now put that into the budget for the next, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, where they have that salary in there. And now they have to bring the entire business around and change the way they're doing things. That's a monumental effort.
And it's interesting, Kurt, because the monumental effort is in conditioning the humans to change their workflows. That's actually the effort, isn't it? It's one thing just to flip the switch and turn the AI on, but it's sitting down with Kurt and his team and saying, okay, now we're going to do it this way, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've done it this way, Keith, for the last 20 years this way. Well, no, but we're going to do it this way now, Kurt, and it's going to help save you hours. No, but I don't want to do it this way.
Yeah. And then wait, I got a fan. So what's going to happen is the same thing they did with Google Gemini. Somebody put in, hey, draw me a picture of this, came out and they go, see, this is how bad it is. It's horrible. Yeah. We can't use this. Yes. So they'll do the same thing with that. Wait, I got my answers on this by doing it the regular way. I'm able to respond to a customer in minutes. Now you want me to do this AI. I prompt it incorrectly. I don't prompt it right because I don't know what to write in it. It gives me a response. The response is garbage. Hey guys, we can't use this stuff. Look, and now the company's fighting against a mutiny of people saying this stuff doesn't work.
Yes.
or I don't know how to do this. Well, come on, what company's going to sit there and say, oh, stop, hold on, we're now going to stop everything, go train everybody with this and start back over again? No, any smart businessman saying, no, we're going to keep running forward the way we're doing it. Let's try to train somebody in parallel and see if it works. But you're going to have people screaming, this stuff doesn't work. And then that spreads like a virus throughout the organization.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. You can only imagine, Kurt, the profit margins right now on the actual usage of AI in business. And just follow me here, just, humorously, where, any AI software right now in most businesses is probably not being used to the extent that it can be used. Hence, the margin being earned by the company selling it is probably through the roof, right? So, because I'm just thinking of myself, I pay for this tool, I pay for that tool, I pay for this tool, I pay for that tool. I pay for all these tools. Do I use all of them 100%? No. It's probably like a lot of companies.
Yeah. I mean, companies been grappling with this for a long period of time, right? Came from the telecom side. They eventually do an audit and they're like, why are we paying $5,000 for a circuit going here? We don't even know what that is. And by the way, that is from the largest companies in the world to the smallest. They all have the same problems. Just when you're bigger, the problems are bigger, right? When you're smaller, the problems seem to be smaller. But in general, everybody's dealing with that. So now you'll have the same exact instance. We have AI. Well, why are we doing this one over here? Okay, we have Microsoft Business Intelligence. Why do we need AI, right? We're doing this from a CRM perspective. Salesforce. Well, they have AI plugged in. So why do we need this other AI? And I mean, their heads are spinning.
Well, even mine spins, Kurt, as somebody who's like in the space, probably like yourself. Like, I'm okay. So I have Gemini, then I have ChatGPT, and then I have Notion. Do I need Notion AI? Well, it's in there. Is it easier to do it there? Should I copy and paste it at ChatGPT? Well, but then I have Perplexity, and as somebody who lives and breathes it myself, sometimes I wonder how much I actually need to have. Yes. But I will tell you this, Kurt, and I'll talk about, because we're talking small, medium business. AI has been a game changer for the Business Athlete Performance Lab. I would not be able to create the amount of content, the quality of content, at the rate of content. There's just me and one other person working here. And you see the content. I create daily content. We have created so many workflows, and I hate to say this about humans, but just with AI agents. And listen, I love human beings as much as anybody. I'm all about humans. But the last agency I started was human first. And when I started this one, I was like, okay, so what can I do with as many AI agents first as possible? It's quite remarkable when you put the time into it to create stuff with these tools.
Yeah, which, it's interesting is people keep talking about, because the media always loves to sensationalize everything. Yes. We know that, right? Yes. So they're going to sensationalize that you're going to lose your job because of AI. And look, it sells a lot of papers, gets a lot of eyeballs, gets a lot of clicks, clickbait, etc. But if you go back, and again, we talk about the history constantly. If you look at the internet to businesses was a savior. Remember, if you were a business before the internet and you wanted to go market yourself, you had to go to the massive marketing houses and you needed budgets of millions of dollars just to get your business name out there. The internet leveled the playing field for businesses to get the word out. Continues to do so. You can market anything on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, at a fraction of what it would have cost you, 20 years ago. So the same thing's going to happen from an AI perspective. So if people educate themselves and learn this, you're right. You can start a small business and you can do the work of 3, 4, 5 people, and even top level fractional CXOs in terms of chief marketing officers using AI. And eventually you could start and then bringing on the people that will just accentuate your business and bring it because they're top level people. But yeah, it's an equalizer for the businesses that use it correctly and the people that learn it. And I think this is a wake up call to everybody, is to become proficient prompting AI in order to understand how to use it and get the responses that you want. Because if you don't, you're going to be left behind, because somebody else is going to prove to you that you didn't prompt it correctly and they got a fantastic result and you didn't, and they don't need you anymore. So don't do it to yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Learn it. And that's how you progress.
So Kurt, I mean, you must have had the word, and you must have saw the word on my tongue that I was about to spit out. A year and a bit ago, the world was inundated with prompt engineering. Prompt. Oh, you got to be a prompt engineer. You got to learn this brand new skill. A year later, you don't hear that being discussed as much as you used to. You still hear about it a little bit, but the media has talked about it less. Question for you, Kurt Stein. Have the AI tools become much smarter? Hence, our prompt engineering doesn't need to be as smart? Or have people just kind of wrapped their head around the fact that there's this new skill, just like Google search back in the olden days, that's just what you do. The better the question going in, the better content coming out.
Yeah, I mean, the latter, the better the question, the better the content. So if you, I mean, look, they say prompt engineering. It's if you don't understand how to articulate what you're looking for, your result is going to be garbage, or it's not going to be what you want. So while they don't talk about it that much, I mean, there's people on LinkedIn that talk about it, that say, look, you have to learn how to prompt AI, because that's going to get you the result that you're looking for. And I mean, we could do side-by-side comparisons. If you write something one way, you get this answer. And if you just fine tune it over here, you're going to get this answer, and what a difference there is. I think it's extremely important, because I see it every day. If I work with it, if I'm not concise in how I say something, I'm going to get a different result. And if I don't build upon that, I'm not going to get the result I want. It's not going to give you the answer you want right out of the gate, or it may get you partly, like 30% of the way there, but you have to keep building upon it in order to get it refined to the answer you want. So call it prompt engineering, call it whatever you want. I've seen people talk about it. Like if you're in IT side, you know, that doesn't make you a great prompt engineer or prompter. Somebody with an English degree, or somebody just normally just writing to it and getting to give you a response. I think that is going to be the area that sets people apart and makes you critical within any business. The one that can get a great answer from AI, whether it's Perplexity, Anthropic, Claude, Google, ChatGPT, Gemini, no matter what you put in there, the person that can refine what they're looking for and get the best response, they're the ones that are going to be sought. They're going to be the ones most in demand. So I think it shouldn't go away. It's fantastic.
Is it not? What is it Alanis Morris said? Is it coincidental or is it ironic? Whatever it is, coincidental or ironic, the fact that the most important skill right now a human being can have is the ability to communicate.
Yes.
It's so simple and cliche, Kurt, but it's true, isn't it? Because the better of a communicator you are with the machine, the better of the results you're going to get. It's really as simple as that, right?
Yeah, I read something. It was actually a long time ago. It was over 10 years ago. Somebody, there was some paper, I don't know if it was New York Times or something like that, where it made, it had a thesis saying that the best communicators had a command over the English language, or a command over whatever language it was that they knew. They were the best communicators because they were able to recall, they had just a better grip on the language itself. So if you look at it like that and you take it just from the human language standpoint, the better communicator is the one that can find the word, place the word, express it well for people to understand it, to simplify things and not make them complicated. Then why would AI not be the same way? It has to be the same way. If you can communicate that well and prompt it, you're going to get the absolute best responses from that, or at least know how to refine it to get it tighter to what you're looking for.
Are you having some companies say, no, Kurt, I'm not interested, or no, Kurt, we're not making the decision, or no, Kurt, we want nothing to do with AI right now?
Sure. Yeah. I've gotten responses on social media saying, sorry, not going to do it. I don't need Big Brother. I'm not doing it. I do business the way I do it. And that's fine, right? They're not my client. They're not my avatar. So, I've said before and a couple of times, there's 3 different clients. There's the client that, like the enterprise client, knows exactly what they want, and they just look for the vendor that's going to provide them the solution they're looking for, whatever it may be. Then you get the client that says, no way, no how, I'm not doing this. And they're going to get dragged, kicking and screaming into the AI age. Just like they were in the internet age, just like they were in the cell phone age.
Yes.
They're going to have no choice but to do it. Just like they were in the car age. They gave up their horses eventually. It's eventually going to happen. And then the middle road client is the one that says, look, I know it. I need it. I don't know where to start. It is paralysis by analysis. I am just absolutely blown away by everything that's happening out there. Where do I start? Where do I begin? And that's not changing. So absolutely, there's somebody out there that's saying, I'm not going to do it. And there's others saying, where do I start? And they just go and get ChatGPT and they start there and they start working with it. But then it becomes, well, where do you go from there? How do you differentiate yourself? If everybody's using Copilot, if everybody's using ChatGPT, if everybody's using Perplexity, everybody's using Claude, everybody's using u.ai, how are you any different? What are you going to do that's going to differentiate your business from everybody else? And that's where, these companies come up with their own GPT specific, large language models solution. Either it's a large language model or just taking that and they're building their own proprietary solution based on AI that they now can differentiate themselves from any other business out there. And that's what you're going to start seeing more of as well.
You're talking like these hyper niche large language models, like industry related. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah. So you take a due diligence, right? Somebody just sits and says, oh, well, we'll just take all this information and, we'll hyper fixate it, so you're using business intelligence from Microsoft, gives you great results. But what if we layer AI onto there? And now instead of us looking through the results and these reports, AI will look at it and say, hey, here's what's going on based on the information that we see in the systems. That's what you're going to see. And it's out there right now. There's companies doing it. There's consulting firms doing it as well. You have McKinsey doing it with their, I think it's called ILLI, I-L-L-I. They're doing it within their firm.
Yeah.
KPMG is doing it. PwC is doing it. Deloitte's doing it. I mean, they're rolling out their own special offers using their client data that's providing them insights real time quickly. And that's what companies are going to have to do. They have to be proprietary in order to disrupt their business and disrupt the industry, because otherwise these businesses are going to find that they're competing against a company that has a fantastic proprietary AI solution that companies go, well, like, why am I even talking to you? I could just go use theirs. It gives me all the answers I want like that. So why do I want you? So,
yeah. Kurt, you mentioned Sora a few moments ago, and then we I'm going to go back a few minutes in our conversation. We both have seen the content created by Sora. It makes me curious what kind of content Google's going to release one day after all the what they've been trained on with YouTube. Like you think of their data set, right? And you wonder what that AI will have the ability to create. It blows me away when I think about it that way, right?
I mean, YouTube is massive. It's absolutely massive. Like anybody could start their channel, anybody could do anything. Remember when you talked about the iPhone, how it's become so advanced, you can create your own movies, and an Android the same way with Samsung. Hey, you can make your own movies, and people out there making movies all the time. Well, now you have AI that can sit there and do all that for you as well rapidly. You're right. YouTube. I mean, that's a massive, massive database of information. It goes back. I hope Google is thinking, how do we change and how do we disrupt this? Because if we don't, everybody's going to do it to us.
Kurt, are websites needed in 2024? Your opinion, and because I just want to kind of toss this out there as a rhetorical type question. With AI, you don't need to go to the website. Yet, we're still building them, we're still creating them. The internet, in many ways, is becoming less and less relevant, isn't it? And what I mean by that is the historical internet.
So you have a lot of companies out there that are coming out with some wicked ways to do it. You have Card, C-A-R-R-D. Costs you nothing. You could slap a website up, 1, 2, 3. Now they can't find it. I shouldn't say website. You can create a link which goes to your Card website that you could put on LinkedIn. Like on my LinkedIn, that's my Card site. You can go on under my featured section and get right to that instead of using my website. I think in time, it's just, it's going to be that way. And there's plenty of people on LinkedIn that are pushing people to that instead of their own website.
Like the idea of a website it's very much changing in front of our eyes. And I don't know if we want to say it is dead, but it is certainly on its last legs, isn't it? And one might even say AI is putting the final nail in that, and in the idea of yesterday's website.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at companies like Card and plenty of others, the graphics are amazing. Anybody can put it up in a matter of an hour. You can put any information in there you want. You can create what you want. You have all the templates. Why build a website? I think there's something now, me.ai, which I got to look at it about building a website itself. I don't know how fast it does it. But yeah, I mean, you could do that and then just push it out on social media to everybody. And that's how they find you. Right now, people are still going to try to find you from the World Wide Web, from Google, from search. But you're right. When is that going to flip? When is it going to be people don't go to Google?
That's changing rapidly. My kids don't use Google to search for stuff. Do your kids? I know you have kids. Do they use Google, do you think?
No, they're right. Well, they go to Bing, right? Because they can use that.
Maybe TikTok, maybe Instagram.
Yeah, Snapchat. That's where they are all the time. So yeah, that's pretty much what they're doing. So Google's going to have some competition on that side. And then why do you need a website? You could just sit there and especially if LinkedIn's gaining 1 billion users and is rapidly expanding, you have X and Instagram and Facebook and Threads. You can start slapping up, your Card and have people go to that and bypass websites altogether. So look, is it going to happen overnight? No, but you are seeing that rapid change, and it's going to take some time. But then the next question you ask me, what about school?
Well, precisely, right. And I know we kind of touched upon this, on our last chat, Kurt. But it's a valid question, because when you think of school, Harvard, Yale, those places of knowledge, well, that knowledge is a commodity now, right? And I'm starting to question, even with my own children. I'm sure you and your wife were questioning with your children, but their school future. And I'm saying to myself, okay, so do I spend $100K on my kid going to school to get knowledge? Or do I spend $100K on my kid to go gain an experience, starting a business, doing something where he can learn, gain some social proof, learn a skill out of the whole thing, because the knowledge is available. The knowledge is now a commodity for you, and it's only going to become more prevalent.
Yes. So what you're buying then is the goodwill and name brand from that college,
right? But so then, Kurt, we spent a lot of time on LinkedIn together talking, and we're seeing the burgeoning. And tomorrow I have Lana Sparrow coming in here. I would argue to you, ChatGPT killed the resume, because it's just a bunch of words on text, which I'm suggesting to you now that the value and the idea of the personal brand is replacing the idea of education. So if Kurt Stein is so Kurt Stein's an expert in AI, and he's done all his installs, has all this experience, has no awards on his wall here, has not taught at Harvard, but he can help me build a business. Why wouldn't I want to come work with Kurt Stein?
Yeah, I mean, that is the age old, saying. They said, like, there's those, those that don't teach, right? So
there you go.
I mean, look, it's not a knock. I mean, there's some absolutely brilliant people that are teaching things in these schools, this higher level education. So you're right. We come from the school of hard knocks, where we learn the hard way and we build things that way. And then that's how you learn, and you learn real fast. So AI is rapidly moving into the college education system.
Yes.
And they're going to have to embrace it. They have no choice. If you look at Harvard now, when they do things, you go into a big room, the teacher just speaks, and then you're on your own, right?
Yes.
So you're just a name at Harvard, and look, these people are achieving great things, but what do you need it for? And so I don't know what's going to happen. And then you have the investments that Schwartzman made into MIT and AI and Oxford, and they're rapidly expanding in that side. So look, education's changing. People are learning so fast. AI can update everybody on anything immediately. So it's been taught at Harvard. If it gets the information from Harvard and Yale and everybody else, people can literally get an education through AI, because it's gaining all this information from there. I mean, that's a great differentiator.
It is. That's why I think the idea of the personal brand is of more value than ever, because your experience is what I'm really paying for, not what's up in your head, right? Your knowledge is your knowledge. I can go get it anywhere. I really want to buy your experience, Kurt Stein. Is really what I'm wanting to buy from, right?
I mean, it's every business, right? You hire the contractor. You hire him because they made the mistakes already, and they're going to avoid the mistakes. You bring on these experts, or the people with the gray hair, because they've made thousands of mistakes in their life, right? And it doesn't have to be 1,000 mistakes that cost people money, but they made mistakes and found ways to get through it. And guess what? Here's an interesting one. We're going to continue to make mistakes because we're human.
Yeah.
Yes. So when we do make mistakes, the question is not that you made a mistake. The question is, what do you do about it?
That's it.
So yeah, that's what you're buying.
That's it. Business Athlete Nation, I hope you guys have enjoyed the chat with Kurt and I today. Kurt, you were always welcome here to chat about this with me, man. I love nerding out about this. This stuff fascinates me, and it seems like we need to come back around the table every few months to catch up, because it is moving so fast. Now, make sure the audience knows how they can get a hold of you, get a hold of your business, work with you. It's important that the audience knows how they can get a hold of Kurt Stein.
Sure. DCTstrategy.com. That's where you reach me on a website, or LinkedIn. It's Kurt R. Stein. That's awesome. That's where all the conversations happen, right?
This is true. This is true. Kurt, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Awesome. I'm going to put you back in the green room for a quick second, and I'm going to say goodbye to the audience and come back and walk you out. Okay. Hang tight. We're going to do this here. Hey, we're always here to have a good chat with great human beings here in the lab. And, just kind of all over the place, but in a good way with Kurt. AI is moving super fast. And if you heard the first conversation Kurt and I had back in October, you'll see how fast it's moved until today. I should probably run both side by side and do a little comparison. Tomorrow, Lana Sparrow is joining me here live in the lab to talk personal branding. Kurt and I talked about it a little bit today, AI and knowledge sharing and, knowledge being a commodity. Well, tomorrow, we're going to talk with Lana about how personal branding is, I think, and I believe she thinks as well, it's changing the landscape of hiring people, talking to people, communicating with people, understanding who people are, right? So tomorrow, Lana Sparrow, myself, live in the lab, noon Central Time, personal branding. Until then, go back to the top of the show if you're curious about AI. Kurt and I had a good chat. We had a lot of conversation with Gemini, ChatGPT, Anthropic, all of it. See you guys tomorrow, live here in the lab.